tell me, look at me, and see me. Okay, so I'll be starting now. I got no reason to fear. I got Jesus on my feet. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. Okay, so hello, you that has been my prominent viewer but still doesn't want to say hello. Hi, welcome to Talkinsen. So for this video, what we'll be doing is talking about drug addiction, how to possibly help yourself, as well as help, most importantly, the focus is on those that you know or possibly loved ones in terms of intimate relationships. It could be family members, or it could be relationship, intimate love kind of relationship. Okay, so before we begin, though, it would be good if you join me in the conversation to make it more interesting for those who will join us later. Okay, but if not, that's still okay. So, addiction. I'm just going to start. First of all, I'll tell you the order of today's topic. We're first of all defining the meaning of addiction, and then we will then look at drug addiction and what that is about. And then I will read out some personal stories and also share some stories of people that I've worked with who has had drug issues, as part of my work involves working with young people with drug issues, and I actually would like to focus my video on young people, to be precise. Okay, so for this topic, we'll first of all define addiction, then we'll look at how to support the person with addiction. Okay, so I'll be looking at two ways. One is mental ways that you can support the person, as well as the practical ways. But most importantly, I will also tap into the spiritual, or I'll say godly way, to help out a person that has a drug addiction, or to help someone else that you know that has, or to help yourself if you do have a drug addiction issue. So, addiction is about, according to Cambridge Dictionary, is the inability to stop doing something, especially is harmful to you. So many people will not really caution you if you're doing something that is good for you, but you'll be cautioned on things that you know that are not good for you, as most of the time is often harmful. So let's say, for example, if you are, well, addiction to anything is not exactly good because it can come onto you and harm you in a very negative form. But there are certain things that we can get addicted to. If you are addicted to helping people, no one is going to stop you from doing that. But if you find yourself addicted to things like drugs, and we are looking at drugs here, not medications, which are prescribed or used to heal the body, but I'm looking at drugs that are used for the sake of getting some level of adrenaline rush, or just heightens your mood, or alters your behavior altogether. And we're looking at drugs like maybe cannabis, marijuana, and is it MD? There's so many of them now. Ice, whichever one, they have different names. I can't keep up with them. So that's what addiction really stands for. So I will say what inspired me to read this, to do a topic on this. So I was supporting a young person. In the past, in my previous I've supported young people that do maybe had drug related issue and which led to a criminal conviction in the past, or those that are in the current still dealing with this issue. And I remember years ago, I was a key worker to a young person that got into the drug issue. And it was quite surreal because his demeanor changes in between whenever he is, I guess, the drugs is wearing off compared to when he does take the drug. Being that at that point, I didn't really understand about addiction and all those things. I didn't understand the change in behavior. It can be it can go really bad really fast. But then when he's good. So that then altered the, I think what was he taking? I've forgotten what he was taking, but it was, I think it's cannabis he was taking also. And that really affected him. So it became difficult to work with him, and he can get angry very easily. And it's become difficult to control him. So as time went on, I learned more about the things that he's facing and then continued supporting him in that way. So that was my kind of first one-to-one encounter with someone that decided to go into that drug use. And his wasn't like a heavy drug user. He was more of a recreational drug user. But still, it affected him in one way or the other. And funny enough, though, he would get beaten up by these people, but he still go back to these people. And that never really clicked in my head. I'm like, how can you be going to people that harm you when you're going out to have this drug to say? So I never quite understood that. And this is the reason why uh, I had to look into more the behaviors that addiction can actually lead to. So I'm going, another thing then that really prompted me to want to do this video. I wanted to do it last year, but I wasn't in the mood, let's be honest. Now, this video was meant to be today, but I didn't realize that I put it to be streaming as of yesterday. So it was meant to be actually today, not yesterday. So for those who may have turned on to want to watch it, sorry, I really thought I'd put the dates to be today. So continuing with the story. I found some personal stories online of people that have been addicted to drug and how it affected them. And there is this particular story that I read, and I was like, yes, this is the way that you should help someone that has a drug addiction. Hello, the next viewer that came to me, don't forget to say hello. Okay. So what we are talking about is about drug addiction and how to help people that are suffering. So we went ahead, I went ahead and read the story and then found out about this the person. So in that story, what happened was he was addicted to drug for such a long time, but he couldn't tell his parents. And this started in university. He was always been the good child, but university life got better of him. And then he went ahead and told his parents. And from the time he told his parents that he was using drugs and need help to stop the addiction, his parents, according to his story, the way they treated it is the way that I believe anyone that is in this lifestyle should be supported. It was out of love. This is why I have this love sign in my thumbnail. It was love. First of all, he said they treated it as if someone that had a cancer. There was no blaming, there was no shaming. It was more like they were sitting on the table. I think it was Christmas Day. That's when he broke the news. They just rushed to his side, found help, find support centers, enrolled him in retreats, rehabilitation centers to get help, and they supported him through and through. Anyone that asked, the parents were quick to tell what the son is going through and ask for people's support. So how his family treated this issue, I believe, was the key thing to his recovery, because he wasn't shamed, he wasn't blamed, he wasn't embarrassed by his parents, neither was he antagonized or isolated, to say, because of this drug issue. His parents saw it as a disease that needed to be cured, and they rushed to his side, sought for help, and went ahead to do everything that is necessary to help him. And also, we are coming to him when he was in the rehabilitation center, giving him cards and supporting him like someone who actually has an illness like cancer. And he said that helped him, that love and support. His friends, everyone else came around to support him. And I think that's how addiction, or those that has addictive issues, should be supported, not to pamper them, but to see, take it as something that has gone beyond them. And for the fact that this guy opened his mouth to say, I am addicted to drugs, that is the first barrier you have broken. Because one thing that drug addiction makes people is that they become liars, they become conniving, they become manipulative, they become sneaky in a way. That's all to cover up what they've been doing. Okay. And I'm talking about drug addiction, not those who do use it for violence. I'm looking at those who have been caught in the parade of it, or those who possibly went into it just to try out and then never came out. Those who, due to stress and life stresses, came into it and then are struggling to come out. These are the people that I'm talking about when it comes to drug addiction. So, another story that I read today, and I still got the paper here, that again deals with this sort of issue. This story of this man, he didn't disclose his name for confidential reasons. According to him, he is actually a medical doctor. His drug addiction started during his medical schools, just due to pressure. This is one of the things. He started off with taking pills after pills, just to help elevate the stress and the pain, and also the issues that has been happening in the family. And then before he knew it, he started doing recreational drugs and then got addicted, which obviously affected his practice. And then he had to go through rehabilitation. One of the key things that he mentioned here is that one of the reasons why he didn't want to share his story was the shame that bringing it out or speaking out about his struggle in drug addiction would cause him, the embarrassment, and also the stigmatization of those that are into the drug culture. Um, because he also had his own practice at this time. He also feared the retribution and the liability of it all, and also persecution, because yes, illegal drugs are can be convicted. You can be convicted for taking illegal drugs. So there are offenses to the government and to the law. So for him, the addiction became a disease that he could not handle, a disease that he struggled so much to control. And he is there prescribing medications to patients, but he himself is struggling with something stronger than what the patients are struggling with. And I think one of the things for him that kept troubling his peace was just the fear of losing his practice. And he also mentioned other issues that came upon him. He couldn't have peace. He had sleeping issues. And again, from pills, he went into drug addiction, personal humiliation. As a doctor, you are surrounded by other professionals who are like very competitive and can look down on you. Don't worry, I've been around doctors. Some of them are just um, not so supportive, to say. Though they know the illness, they are not supportive in a holistic way or in an emotional way, in that way. So he himself decided, I think he shared it with his superior or someone that he trusted. And then this is just to help himself. And then he started learning more about drug addiction. So Addiction, again, is one of the is that inability. It's almost like a possession. Okay, addiction is a possession. Something possesses over you. You cannot get over it. You cannot do without this thing. And even if you say, I have stopped, there comes a time when your spirit will remind you. There comes a time when your taste buds will remind you. If you doubt me, try and stop something that you enjoy doing or enjoy eating. Try and stop something, say or say no to something that you don't like, or something that you've enjoyed before, like things like chocolate. You will find that that's the time that these things start getting handed out to you. You will see chocolate every day. Everything you see is chocolate. Your thoughts becomes chocolate. And that would not have been the issue before in previous times. But because you are trying to overcome this issue, it becomes a double trouble in that the temptation becomes stronger. So this is the doctor's personal story. But because of hope that he can recover and support that was given to him when he confessed of his struggle with drug issues, he was able to overcome this with love and kindness from other people. Okay. And also, there was public disgrace. Don't get me wrong. Here he says the greatest challenge for him was a public disgrace when his name became published in the front paper of the newspaper where he lived. So that was his struggle with drug addiction. Um, for my own personal story, I've never tried drugs. So let's put that as a disclaimer. I've never even seen it face to face, like things like cocaine. I remember on TV, I used to think it was powder. I literally used to think it was face powder, the white ones. Okay, I've never had to see it face to face, or I had to touch it to be precise. I mean, the only ones that I see is like people that do weeds and things like that. But then that is kind of common now. But all those class A drugs, yeah, I haven't come across it. Though I've worked with people that have taken them, so they are good at hiding things like that. So for me, then, um, when I was young, I think I remember when I used to come back from school because I grew up in Nigeria. As I walked home, I remember there was one corner like that I find like lots of men used to. I mean, I was in primary school then, but lots of men used to be on this particular area of the bush, and some of them will climb the tree, others at the bottom. And I used to be so scared of going that area. Why? Because I remember one day I was coming back, one of them jumped down from the tree, and his eyes were so red. Although I didn't know exactly what they were doing, but obviously the adults that knew what was going on over there did say what was going on. And that has made me so scared of those that have like those red eyes or yellow eyes to say, because the eyes of that guy, the man, was unrecognizable to me. I was super scared. Since then, I started taking the different routes. So that was my first initial, I guess, time seeing people that take drugs and the reaction and how it looks on them. So then coming to work one-to-one with people that have these issues on a daily basis has made me think more on how can you help these people, more on the things that could lead to drug issue, and just to look into and study more about this whole drug issue, because drugs can also cause mental health issues. It can cause lots of health issues, liver failure, also all these things can cause a lot of things, but it's one of the key links to mental health issues, especially when it comes to schizophrenia and madness, say. So that's one of the key things that leads to it. So it's associated. It's not the only thing, but it's associated. So you then have like, okay, how do we go about supporting these people? Okay, how do we go about supporting these people? Don't forget to write if you feel like you want to comment on this live blog. Okay, so how do you go about supporting these people? Before I go into that, actually, Um, I think there are key things that leads many people, especially many young people. This is the people I'm actually more focused on than the adults. There are many things that leads them to take drugs. There are many things that leads them to this lifestyle. Okay, the first thing I'm going to focus on is using a social psychologist theory, and it's called the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Okay, according to Maslow, he said that his theory, the hierarchy of needs focuses on five essential needs that we as human beings need to survive in life. And according to him, if we do not have these things, then we are not achieving. This is often used as a landmark for many um, in many fields of sociology and also psychology to see how a person is progressing. Okay, we need to meet. The first thing that he mentioned is the physiological needs, and the physiological needs is the basic needs that we need. For example, we need food, we need water, we need shelter. These are some of the things that every young person should have. Every person should have. And this is why you find like even many people that get into the drug culture, they lose their sense of belonging. They lose everything. They can lose their home. And once they lose their home, they are more vulnerable to these issues. These are things that can act as risk factors as well as protective factors if met. So the physiological needs are the first one. Then another one you mentioned is safety. And the second need is safety. And the safety need is that to make sure that the environments that you grew up in or you are growing up in is you feel safe. It doesn't matter if other people don't, but you as the person or as the young person who may be your loved one or your child has to feel safe in the environment they are growing up in. There's also that personal safety of employment. So when you have employment, you should be able to feel some level of comfort and security because you're able to provide for yourself. And then you also have the resource um, safety and properties. So having things around you, having your house, having your sofa, your bed, your TV. I'm just looking around my place to see what is around. Okay, having all these things does help in making sure that you feel safe. And then the third one that every young person should, or every person, I guess, should have when growing up is love and belonging. And this love and belonging can be intimate. It can be like the love from your family members, or it can be from friends. Okay, there is very there is a strong association to that the level of belonging that you have in a group with mental health. And also this helps to reduce your risk of associating with the wrong group, if that makes sense. If you have a safety and comfort place at home, it reduces the risk of you having it outside. Okay, or having a wrong relationship outside because there is that safety at home. And then the fourth one is esteem. This esteem could be on self-confidence, building self-confidence. It could be on just feeling good about yourself, um, feeling like you're valued by others. And I'm going to really expand on that esteem one. Feeling that you're valued by others, feeling that your achievements are recognized, and that you're contributing to the society. And here is the reason why I'll say I'll just expand on this esteem is that if you find like many people at a point start trying to find what their purpose in life are, some people start trying to find how to help other people. In this situation, they're trying to build their esteem. Sorry, if you hear a noise, it's the wind outside. It's very windy where I am, and it's been raining nonstop almost. Okay, so the esteem is feeling like you've accomplished something. For example, you find that people that went to school or graduated with a degree level, they often have more self-esteem on them than people that left that didn't graduate, or people that only stopped in secondary school, especially in a circle where most people are graduates. If you do not have that qualification, you often feel less of a person. In that case, your self-esteem or your confidence is affected just by that qualification. But esteem can also come in other things, your achievements in life. It doesn't have to be a degree related issue. It's just an example. It could be other things in life. You could be feeling underachieved in yourself, even if you have all the qualifications in this world. If you don't feel like you've contributed enough to the society or you find your purpose, this is why people try to find their purposes in life. If you don't feel like you have achieved that, then that will affect you drastically in your confidence, as you always feel like you haven't done enough to I guess to meet society's standard of what a good citizen should be. Um, Another one, the last one, then we all need to have. He calls it um, self-actualization, and self-actualization is then you feeling fulfilled in yourself, fulfilled in life, feeling that you have lived up to your potential. And this is one thing about human beings, because we always pursue all these things. All these things relate to those that have issues with drug addiction. If they do not have that basic needs that they need met, it leaves them vulnerable. It becomes a risk factor to mingling with the wrong group, of trying to find external things to try and fill the void that is in them. Okay. According to Maslow, each need has to be met for you to move on to the next one. So a person that is hungry, has no shelter, has no place, no basic need is met, is not going to have the mental concentration to try. It's not going to feel safe in the first place. When you're hungry, your stomach ain't safe. You're not going to feel safe. Okay, if you don't have shelter, you're not going to feel safe in most cases. Okay, that's why we human beings are built. Whenever we move to a place, we try and build a shelter for ourselves. That's a form of security, and that is a form of feeling safe in yourself. So physical needs to be met before we look at safety. Then you look at your environment. Okay, the safety aspect of it comes in. Then this, when these two needs are met, you start looking for a sense of belonging, if that makes sense. um I'll give you an example. When I moved in my house, I wasn't busy trying to find out the people that were around me. The first thing first was to make sure that I have the things that I need to eat, live well, and sleep and get. Afterwards, you start then looking for who are your neighbors. Okay, this is when you start looking for sense of belonging. Because at this point, you feel happy with yourself. Is that feeling of feeling good with yourself? Because when you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to project that to other people. So that's how Maslow describes it. And then we obviously move into esteem and then self-actualization, when you feel like you have reached a goal, regardless of what that is. That's why it's very important to set a goal for yourself so that you know you're moving or you're progressing to something. So then bringing it back to the topic I'm speaking about, how then does this link to supporting a person with drug addiction or a loved one with drug addiction? Whenever you're thinking of supporting someone with drug addiction, first of all, check all these. If all these things, you can observe it from your own self. Check to see if all these issues, these needs that Maslow has mentioned are met. Okay. If they are, then when if they're not met, for example, if the person is homeless, then you know very much that the physiological need is what they need. They need shelter, they need food, they need water. There is no point in giving someone that is addicted to drug and homeless, trying to give them um what do you call it, like trying to make them uh what do you call it, reach to self-actualization when their physiological needs has not been met. Okay. And in actually providing this food, shelter, and things like that, it gives them the opportunity to then listen to you, because the last time I checked, a hungry person doesn't listen to anyone that is not giving them food. Okay. So these are the things that you need to check. And then also look at the environment where they are in, because you can feed them all these things and then they go back to the same environment. That environment is not conducive, neither is it promoting their well-being. So if you then give them that food, shelter, that's when they have the strength to seek for safety. Okay, then that's when you have the opportunity to encourage them or build confidence in them and give them that. All of them can quite interlink, to be honest. It doesn't matter which one you start first sometimes, once the basic needs are met. But in meeting the basic needs, you're actually fulfilling each need in one way or the other. Okay, so that's how Maslow's needs works in this situation. I hope I explained it well for those who know it. And then let's then go into the mental area of how to support people that are addicted to drugs. Okay. So for me, it all links with what Maslow has said, though. But for you to help someone with drug addiction, remember, drug addiction affects the mind. It affects the functionality of the brain. So as well. So I'm just going to focus on the mind area or the mental health area of it. So for you to think of how to support a person with drug addiction, the very first thing you have to think is their mental health. Okay. When I mean mental health, you're looking at their ability to cope with life issues, their ability to be productive, to cope and be able to be productive. Life stresses is a lot of things, can come under a lot of things. And then it's about coping. Okay, just to make it clear, mental health is about the ability to cope with life stresses while still being productive in the society. Does that make sense? So if they don't have that ability to cope, then that's the first thing you should be building in them. Okay. Now it's a bit different from emotional well-being. That's another thing that you have to look at. The emotional well-being is the ability to develop and progress psychologically with confidence and enjoyment. So what that means is that this time we are looking closely at their psychological being, which is their mind. Okay. How are they able to develop and progress? And they don't just progress, but they progress with confidence, not progress with beating down about their emotional well-being, but progress with confidence. I'm thinking an example, trying to think of an example of how a person can progress that way. Okay, so for example, someone that has an emotional need, which again links to mental health anyways. I'm just trying to look at, let's say, school. Okay, this life stresses of exams can be too much. Okay, then you can help them develop that emotional resilience by either encouraging them or supporting them with their work, and then helping them. That psychological area helps them then to do and go into the situation with confidence and enjoy what they are doing. I don't know if that is a good example, but that's all I can think of as right now. Okay, so that's what that means. So for a person to experience emotional well-being, though, they need to be encouraged and taught how to learn from experiences. So going back to the exam scenario, if a young person comes to you with issues of fear of losing, like failing their exams, or they have failed the exam that they have taken, the first thing that obviously may have to give them some consoling words, but then you have to be able to teach them how to look back on the experiences of the education, experiences of what they have written in the exam, and then allow them to look through their exam paper, whatever it is, and see if they has made any mistakes in that situation, and then to learn from it, and then possibly correct it. This is how, first of all, you need to teach them to be able to build this mental health and emotional well-being. You need to, first of all, encourage the drug addicts. Okay, I know we're kind of not speaking about drug addict every time, but it's important, don't see them as just drug addicts, but as human beings. Okay, as human beings that are struggling in life. So first of all, they have to come from their experience. You know, the story I told initially about the young person coming to his parents and telling him that he has a drug issue. That is the first barrier, because he has reflected. He's broken the first barrier. He has reflected on what he has done, and he has learned from that experience for him to be able to open his mouth to seek for help from his parents. Okay, another one is to help the person to overcome difficulties and adversity. So, for a person to have this good mental well-being and emotional well-being, they have to be taught how to overcome difficulties and adversities. Okay, and then sometimes you have to go through it to get to it. And that guy in my first scenario had to go through it, through the counseling, through the rehabilitation centers, through other people, like the humiliations, to understanding that what he has done, it hurts his parents, through understanding the consequences of these issues. He had to go through it, okay? But he was still supported in these situations. He wasn't left to do it on his own, because if they could have done it on their own, they would not come to you for help, okay? Then you also have to teach them. This is actually things that you can do to reduce these issues. You also have to teach the person to know the right from wrong. I find in today's society, it's like the wrong things are, I wouldn't say they are made right, but more or less they are less challenged. And if you challenge them, people always use this "are you judging me" thing excuse to cover up their issues. So it's not the no helping a person to develop their rights and wrong, or know their rights and wrong. It's not about judgment, but it's about understanding everything that you do has a consequence to it. Okay? So if young people or the person that you know is taught these things in advance as they are growing up, then you know the right and wrong. All of us have grown up with moral values to some extent. Other people may have chosen to live by that moral values, others may have fallen away. But then again, it all falls down to people's choice. Okay? So you need to then help them as well to um I guess the strength and capacity to develop and recognize their full potential in terms of their own ability. Okay. So, in teaching all these things as a young person, or to a young person, or to a person that is kind of recovering from drug addiction, in supporting them in these issues, these are the things that barriers and things that you actually need to do to help this person do a good and full recovery, because there is no need in covering it. I know many parents like to cover up what they these sort of issues. There is no need to cover it. Just say what it is. You see, or call it what it is. Because when you shame the devil, he disappears. Okay, call it what it is and focus on helping the person. So in doing that, you have to help them to develop that strength and capacity to recognize their full potential, and that full potential helps them to show them that their life is more than this drug that they are taking. Okay. And then you also, lastly, have to give them the ability to grow, like give them the room to grow and develop physically with confidence and enjoy every aspect of their life. So I hope this makes sense. If it doesn't, please just let me know in the chat. Okay. So all these things I mentioned are things that we can do to help the young people progress in their or I say young people, I keep saying young people, but like the drug addict, to help the drug addict to overcome the issue of addiction, because it's a stronghold that it does has a stronghold on the person. And this is one of the reasons why, first of all, they are very defensive kind of people. They are aggressive because if you try to approach them or bring the issue to them, there is that defense. Who wants to be embarrassed anyways? Who wants to be talked down on? So you'll be sure that people will put up a defense, and lies is something that they become a master on. Okay. So to help them, you have to help them with the following things I mentioned, which is learning from their experiences, overcoming difficulties and adversity, learning to develop and know what is right from wrong. These are things that you should teach your children anyway, so that as they are growing and they are finding themselves in these issues, even if they find themselves in the issue, they will recognize this is an issue. They then be able to come out of it or seek for help to come out of it. Okay. So, and then also in doing so, you must help them to understand what is taking place, help them to give them the strength and help them through their life circumstances to gain their full potential. Okay. So, and that being said, remember Maslow's needs are the first things that you really need to meet before you start looking at these mental health issues or emotional well-being. But then again, who am I to say? All of them, as you're working on one, the other ones are being built. So that's how this works. So Maslow's hierarchy needs, if I can go back on Maslow hierarchy needs, if not met, can help reduce or increase the risk of drug addiction, okay, and alcohol abuse as well. Um, when these things are met, like the physiological needs as well as the mental and emotional needs are met, it builds resilience in the young person or the drug addict. It helps the person build a better resilience to these issues so that they're able to recover properly. Okay. Um, However, if unfulfilled, it becomes a risk factor, an increased risk factor to them maintaining in that culture or in being still held in that addiction. Okay. So here's the things that they say: the most effective way of maintaining positive emotional well-being and enhancing resilience, okay, is linked with self-esteem, which is the internal sense of self. If you don't feel good about yourself, there is no way you will feel like you are able to achieve anything in life. A sense of self-identity, this includes their personal, cultural, and spiritual. Use all those things that are about them. Don't dismiss any. If you come from a cultural background, use everything that you have in your power or around you and turn into positive to help these people. And then also give them the sense of self. And that's about self-efficacy. And that's being confident to make decisions on their own. And I think this is one of the key things that I find uh, that either breaks or makes an addict. If they have grown up in a family where their decisions and choices are not supported, I'm looking at good choices, or they are not allowed to make the mistakes themselves, or they are overprotective, it's quite much harder at times to break that cycle for them, because then they never learned the wrong and right. They never learned how to constructively deal with issues like that and push through adversities. Okay. So these are some of the things that I discovered that could help. So I can I'm about to close I'll be closing in the next 10 minutes. Um, I'm just going to link it back to God. Okay, so if you are a Christian, then how do you go about, if you've done, like, you can do all these things and still you don't feel like there is an effect to it? So how do you go about supporting this person if this person is close to you or you know the person? I think for me, what I discovered in working with people that has issues like this is that I have to be emotionally prepared and resilient myself a lot of times. I have to be emotionally resilient and patient and tolerant a lot of times in working with people with issues as such. And for you who may be supporting the person, you equally have to be the same. You have to be emotionally resilient. You have to learn to tolerate. At this point, just pretend that everything that they do that is not affecting you for now. Because if you show that it's affecting you, whatever that is in that person comes back stronger to fight against you. So it's important that you are spiritually sound and mentally sound in to be able to support these people. And to be sound doesn't mean that you have to be in perfect peace, but that you have the desire and passion and that you have some level of strength and connection with God to withstand all the issues that these people's issues can bring up in you. Because as they're expressing their anger, remember the spirit of anger or spirit, remember spirits fly, spirits can jump. So you can equally become angry with the issues. And I remember for me, um, I remember for me when I was coming back one day, it was just like you've done your best to try to help these people. And don't be surprised if they reject your help, if you think they've opened their mouth to seek for help and then you come as the Messiah or what. Don't be surprised if they reject your help. They will reject your help. Okay, they will reject your help because that you are then here fighting with something that they have been fighting with for years. Okay, they will reject your help. One day I was coming back just dismayed because of like what's wrong with all these clients. You try to help them, you've given your best, you throw everything at them, still they don't want to take the help and things like that. And my dear, these things can be disheartening. So here is what you need. I believe that I had to mentally go within myself and had to take myself out of the equation. Okay, this is how the Spirit of God operates. You have to take yourself out of the equation to allow the Spirit of God to work through you. And I remember as I was driving on down, like coming back home, and I was like, my mind was just filled with annoyance, like try to help these people, they're not doing it. Like I've tried what I could think of that could support. They say they want this, and I've tried to deliver that. They are not help, they're not taking the help. And the Spirit of God said to me, you came into this person's life to help them. Okay. Now, for them to accept the help is up to them. Your job always is to teach, is to support. Your job is not to change. Your job is to give the resources, to be present. It is God's work to change. Okay? They may be a lot, but the reason why you are employed in that work is because there are a lot. If they were able to do it on their own, you would not be employed in that job in the first place. But you are employed in that job to give them to be that person. This is why I mentioned supporting people. Okay? To be that person that is that bridge that could help them to get to where their destination out of drug culture. Okay, so I've learned every single time I find my mind wrapped up in this thing, I have to learn to take myself out of the equation. Remember that it's not me that has this issue, that is them. And my only work there is to support, it's not to change them. I can only provide the support. The other time someone called me, literally we just sat down. They can be going through a lot of issues. That's not the time to be saying, okay, let's do this, let's do that. Literally, we just sat down and had a chat, had fun, did some joke questions, and that was it. Like the key worker that I had, we can just play cards because that's the things that could get his mind out of things. We sat down, we played cards, we laughed about it. They felt a bit better, they left. So sometimes you can have all this big agenda and plan, and you are supporting this person, and the person is not responding to your support. All you can do at times is just to let go and let God. Okay. I had to learn that in a very, I mean, I still learn it every single time. You can never stop being reminded of that. You have to let go and let God help them so that you yourself don't get dismayed, you don't get discouraged, don't get demotivated. So I always encourage myself that either by reading more about other people's story that have gone through this and how they have been supported and what worked, this kind of renews my spirit in supporting the young people. I mean, the drug issue is not the only issue that you have. So sometimes this is why you have to look at that Maslow's need. He has to start all over again because they may meet the second level of need. But then something happens, and then they have to go back to physiological needs where you have to then find them shelter. You have to do all those things. So it can go up and down with that Maslow pyramid needs. It can go up and down. So you have to find, uh, you have to stick to the purpose of your calling in that work or in the work of the person's life, in the work that you have in that person's life. So I've learned to really rely on God for myself as the person supporting the person. And in the book of, I'm trying to find it. So don't give me a minute. Oh, damn it. Okay, I may need to be closing soon because my thing is going. I'm low. Okay. So in the Bible, there is a passage where it says about when you pray and you feel like, or you don't have the words to pray, it says that the spirit groans for you or something like that. I can't remember. I just have to quickly talk this thing, or this thing will just cut off. My battery is low. I forgot I was doing live video, and this thing is like I didn't even plug it in. How mad. Okay, so it says the spirit grows for you when you don't have words or something. I think it's in the book of Matthew or Luke, one of those people. Anyways, so, and that's one thing, is like, let the spirit of God speaks to you. Remember the gifts of the Holy Spirit. These are the things that are linked with this next. The gift of wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, fear of God. I pray this prayer over my life, the understanding of what the person is going through, to be a good counselor, the words to use to counsel this person, how to approach this person. Fortitude is the perseverance of it all. Knowledge, that's how I have to personally get the knowledge and also allow God to like envelop or open up my eyes to things I'm not seeing or I'm not understanding, and the wisdom to work with these people because it's not easy to support a person that has a drug addiction. Okay, so that's my thing about drug addiction, is that you have to rely on the Holy Spirit and you have to teach them the gifts of the Holy Spirit. Like, well, because you're at a workplace, they may not have the same religion as you, but if you're supporting a young person or the person is a loved one of you, you need to teach them, and you're a Christian, you need to teach them these gifts of the Holy Spirit so that when they grow, you don't have to be telling them every time. The Holy Spirit to be their reminder. The Holy Spirit to be their counselor. The Holy Spirit to be their guide. Okay. You give them that knowledge and wisdom to understand that what they are going through is not good. Even when people try to deceive them, to entice them into these issues, God will always be with them and always advise them. He becomes the counselor, not you anymore speaking in their head, because they can move out. But who then speaks to them at that point? This is when the Holy Spirit groans for you, when you do not have the words, when you are not present. He speaks on your behalf. Okay, so these are the things that I think that we can all learn from in supporting people that are addicted to drug issues, and I hope this helps you. And as my battery is about to die, take care. Bye. All right, bye, and thanks for watching.